Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast presented by Zwift. We know who you are. You are the hardcore cycling fans. We're looking at you. It's Catalunya, stage 4, a sort of MISC sprint stage midweek from Yvia to Sabadell. We'll do it first, just like we did yesterday, and then we'll do Broe Catalunya women's race second, which was another really good, cracking edition, and I got to fortunately watch. That was my focus today. But the stage in Catalonia, 188 Ks, with the lack of serious climbs in the last 20 Ks and the gentle stage up. It is up and down, but nothing too severe beforehand. The flat finish in Sabadell was likely seeing the second sprint, we could say, if you count stage 1. Remco could theoretically move up on GC if he took loads of GC positions. We'll talk about that more in a second, but mostly looking like breakaway. But if you want to unlock the fast track, kind of like David de la Cruz in the break today, Zwift's Tour of Watopia is on now until April 6th. You can double down on the fun with the 5-stage Tour of Watopia. You'll get fitter as you earn double XP during every event. Not just a double XP weekend, double XP until April 16th. You can hop in the saddle, tear across the flats, past landmarks, and explore the biggest climbs in Watopia. There's also double duration power-ups for an extra boost. So go and check it out. If you're already on Zwift, which we know many of you are, the Tour of Watopia is on now. But Benji, did you think this could be a breakaway day? Like, it's not the easiest stage to control. I know it's not hard from a GC perspective, but it's also not flat either.
The only advantage for the breakaway is that there's not that many sprinters here or pure sprinters here. So if they're like doubting about it, they might send someone else in the breakaway. But today, that decision was clearly made early on by a lot of the teams because while on the first climb we had a lot of moves, as in when a stage starts with an uphill, you always have like a lot of people trying to get in the breakaway. But one of those riders was just for the KOM points, which was Guillaume Martin, who actually took the lead in the KOM point standing now with 40 points. So he's happy in probably not polka because I'm not actually sure what the color is of the KOM jersey in this race. That being said, that breakaway with him wouldn't actually last too long. We'd see a breakaway go up the road with some notable names in the likes of De La Cruz, which you mentioned at the start of the podcast, Roger Adria, which is one of those talented dudes on Kern Pharma. We've got
Rouge.
Roger?
I don't know, man.
Okay.
It's sorry. Just a side note.
Roger Rabbit.
Jack Haig's wife is Catalan, and I was like, Anna, how do you say Adria? And I already can't say it because he's Catalan. I think it's like we got to call him Rog. I think because it's really hard to say the way the Catalans say it. Anyway, go on.
Rocky Adria was in the breakaway. And next to him, we've got Nals Pesters, who's still hunting for that third Grand Tour stage one in the sense that he got a Giro one and a Tour de France one. Yes, indeed. So he's got to be sent to the Vuelta this year to get that final victory of a stage one at the Vuelta to complete the triple there. Same that Mollema is also chasing, by the way, but that's completely out of topic here. We've got Jules Jensen in the break and Torsten Tran, who's actually got a pretty interesting story, no? Because I swear I read recently that this guy had a doping test that had like a weird result. And on checking up on it, it wasn't that he had done something malicious, but apparently he had cancer. And the doping test found out about it, which it kind of saved his life, which is crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was last year, and he came back to competition pretty quickly afterwards. And yeah, that was a crazy story. And I don't know if the same thing happened with Fulsang recently, or if it was just uncovered or whatever. Something happened literally last night in one of the New Orleans Saints fullbacks, Moreau. He got traded, and the physical uncovered that he had Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Is this
And it's
cricket or
like
some other sport?
NFL.
Okay.
New Orleans Saints cricket. Come on now.
I don't
He's
fucking know.
That is anyway. We'll move on. But yeah, it's these at least it's good these things are getting picked up. And on a more serious note, like get yourself checked. If you never know what could happen, it's better to find it earlier. I know from my family's personal experience.
More
Anyway,
doping tests.
maybe for Benji after thinking that the Saints were a cricket team. Are you able to do this podcast? Like, I get Wada surely going to get you off. Anyway, breakaway was pretty straightforward. It was just, it's a strong break. Like, this is not a joke pro Conti break. These are good guys. They're experienced guys. De La Cruz, Peters, as Benji said, experience winning break stages. And it's just not hard enough for them. And also, Ineos had the bit between their teeth, Benji. Buoyed by perhaps Ethan Hayter's performance on stage 1 of Catalunya, they took it upon themselves to control a lot of the day, including with Egan Bernal. So, obviously, and these are not Neopros controlling.
Yep.
Geraint Thomas, you got Tour de France winners, 2 of them, controlling this stage for you. It's a
Well,
bit of
they're
pressure.
climbing like Neopros this race, though. No offense.
Oh, G was better yesterday. He's just biding his time.
He's
G's
building up.
trajectory is good.
Yeah. He only peaks once a year, but if he does, damn. Anyway, we saw Ineos pacing, like you said, and some other teams were also mingling it, but a lot of the pacing near the end, when the break was still on a minute, was Ineos, like you mentioned. And then the question was going to arise: was Ethan Hayter going to be in the right position at the finish line? Was he going to be in a competitive position at the sprint? Because, like you said, stage 1 he was. So there is a light point. There's a reason for them to somewhat trust the capabilities of Hayter at this finish line, despite his positioning in the past not being the greatest. Now, we're moving more towards the final of the race here, let's be honest about it, and the break is going to be taken back, but quite late, right? 4 kilometers to go, and it's not like it was super easy either, eh?
No, but I think this is a bit of an illusion. It's where the peloton, they know they have them in control.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can catch them at 10Ks after the last descent on the straight run in. We can catch them there, but
That's boring.
why would we when we know when we can catch them at 4Ks and we can keep our lead out together? That's why Lotto Destiny didn't pace for a lot of the stage. For Milan Menton, who has done, they did pace later, but he's been quite good in some midweek classics, quite sharp. And so that's why they're like, oh, well, keep it together, Israel or Bora or whoever, and we'll catch them at 4Ks. And also the break, like terrain wasn't pulling. De La Cruz looked kind of cooked. So yeah, this was not the not the craziest stage. Even Alpecin, they were sort of. We saw more of the GC teams moving up. Benji break caught 4Ks.
Yeah.
Quick Step coming up with Remco, and I was thinking, is Remco going to go for this sprint?
I was hoping you would. I said yesterday, I don't go even a pull when it comes to the sprint candidates, but nah, it looks like it was positioning related, trying to get him into a position where he's stable in that position and then move back later on. Because in the last 1.5 kilometers, we didn't see him anymore, eh? So he was well and truly moved back by that point. But the teams that we did see moving up was Bora with a lead out train of crazy names like Patrick Conrad, legendary sprinter, Iris Schelling, pretty good sprint on stage 1, to be honest.
Very nice.
And Frederik Wandal, who I mainly remember this man always as the man that did the pacing in the final kilometer of Alto de Foya 2 years in a row.
On Algarve.
Yeah.
I think he's actually, for some reason, I thought he was quite, had a little bit of a sprint on him. I don't know whether that was based on, I don't think that was based on anything. I think I just decided he would be able to do that.
Who else?
I gotta be honest with you. Hand up, to quote PFT, I thought he was Patrick Gamper. I thought he was an 82 kilo rouleur. And I now see that he's 61 kilos. Oh, he's young.
He's good at the Mallorca challenges. Last year, I think.
8th in Wallonie, 10th in Piemonte. I might have to look into this guy. Quite punchy. Anyway, those 3 were there for Bora Hansgrohe. And just for context, after stage 1, Ida Schelling gave a really interesting interview, actually. I was bemoaning yesterday on Twitter about, some of the interviews are really boring. And listen, most of them are. Like Remco, I think, and Quickstep have admitted openly they sat him down and spoke to him in his Neo-Pro year or something, and they were like, you're going to have to be more boring, which is a real shame. No, that literally happened. And because Remco, I think, is really, got a lot of character, but understandably keeps it, pretty pretty PR savvy. Anyway, Schelling,
Yikes.
great interview, super enthusiastic. And he said, well, I was supposed to be leading out Conrad here. And Conrad crashed in that horrible crash that took out Yates and Cataldo, I think.
Yeah.
And so he just went for himself. But then we get into the final, last big right-hander. Foss has placed Roglic in good position. Remco and Quickstep have gone sort of disappeared. I guess they were just going to the 3-kilometer rule in
Yeah.
hindsight, keeping him safe. Jumbo were pacing a little bit after that for Roglic. And Alpecin are there, but they're not right with Groves. Groves a little bit deeper in the bunch, and the footage at Catalunya is always really grayed out. It's difficult to see who is who. And as Benji said, we have 3 Bora. Schelling in front, then it's Conrad, I think, and
Yep.
then Vandal. And we see Schelling furiously giving them the left elbow flick, then shouting at them to do something. And I don't know. It's hard for me to really pass judgment on this, Benji, because I assume Conrad was supposed to lead out Schelling, who was in the middle and didn't move or do anything. But it's possible either Schelling just decided they would also lead him out.
This
There's no
was
way Schelling was supposed to lead out Vandal.
this was really confusing, 100%. And the fact that Vandal is in third wheel is even more confusing for me. I would expect this train order to be, if I had to make it, the order of this train, I'd probably make it Vandal, Conrad, and then Schelling based on stage one. I know that Conrad crashed. I know that he had a sprint at an intermediate sprint at the Giro against Almeida 2 years ago, but that's not enough for me, guys. Like, Schelling has a recent decent sprint. It was uphill, but he was competitive. So I would have Schelling in last wheel. Schelling, by the way, I'm transferring to the English pronunciation. Wow, I can't even say pronunciation anymore. Edie Schelling. I trust the sprint more. That's what I wanted to say. That's my point. But Alpecin rider was still ahead of them, right? One Alpecin rider leading those 3 Bora riders into the final corner. Ethan Hayter back in Narnia, 25th, 30th position, Shadow Realm, whatever we call it. He's not at the front. And that must be such a bummer for Ineos, right?
I think so, and we're going to start calling it Shadow Realm because probably can't put Narnia on a t-shirt. So unless Shadow Realm's from one of Benji's TV shows, yeah, he's really in bad position. As I'll finish the sprint, as I think Vandal starts to move up, someone Israel launched with Guillaume Bovin on the far side. As we're looking at it, really good lead out from him with Corbin strong in the pocket, and I'm like, well, I mean, this is a great opportunity for Strong to win his first World Tour race. He won a stage of Tour of Britain last year. He's quite sharp, but unfortunately for him, he had Brian Coquard in the wheel. He skips away. He puts a bike length or two into Strong, but he has Caden Groves in his wheel, who has 10 career wins, many of them in Asia, but now 2 Volta Catalunya stage wins. He won stage 2 last year ahead of Bauhaus on a similar sort of stage, and he wins this stage coming out of Coquard's wheel and very, very quickly moving up and winning by half a wheel, let's say. He won a Volta stage last year too. So Groves lives in Andorra and had a profitable World Tour career in Spain so far. That's also his first win for his new team, Alpecin Deceuninck, having moved from Jayco last year. So he'll be happy with that. Alpecin did a reasonable job. He was in very, very good position. I was like, oh, come on, Lecoq, but then Australian won, so I don't mind. But yeah, this is just a Catalunya sprint. That's what it is. Groves, Coquard, Strong, Schelling, Venturini, he lives. Vandal 6th, Vibora,
He
Aberasturi,
lives.
Mantin 8th, Marit 9th, Velasco 10th. Yeah, Venturini.
He, were you surprised that he's alive? Or
I'm surprised he ran 5th.
okay. Now, what can we say about the sprint? Caden Groves should win a sprint like this against this competition and does.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. 2, Bora fucked up whatever they were trying to do. 3, Schelling's pretty good at flat sprints. That's, I guess, something we learned as well. Because I didn't expect this either.
Back. He's back.
He's back. But he didn't celebrate as much as he did on the KOM then again, he didn't win, so that's logical.
Look out for him in Brabant. Look out for him there.
Yeah, I believe in that. Now, when it comes to the rest of the riders, Roglic came in the same group. Remco Evenepoel came in the same group. All the GC riders basically came in the same group. I'm pretty sure. I don't see Mankey's DNS, so something's wrong with him. I don't know what though, but he's not at the start here. But yeah, Store is
Hater
also
25th. I was
yeah
holding
okay.
it back to talk about it. It's not what the team wants. And listen, you can't have a just because you pace all day doesn't mean the rider has to win the stage. You can pace
Yeah,
all day because your rider has a 25% chance of winning the stage. And you know what? If you pace and you give your rider the opportunity and they got a 25% chance of winning the stage, and you do that many, many times across a World Tour season, you'll win a lot of races. That's fine. You don't only pace when you have 90% win probability. But what you do probably expect is to contest the sprint. Let's be honest. Like Ineos, after doing all that work today, a lot of work, by the way, from, as I said, I know that Bernal's training, so he doesn't mind. And G, well, it's prepping for the Giro. Like, it's a lot of salary pacing, and Hayter's got to contest the sprint. That's just the short and the end of it. I know you can miss a corner here, you can miss a corner there, but it's just a pattern. So I'm not saying anything probably that won't be said on the bus afterwards. I'm guessing. I doubt G's like, don't worry about it. We'll get the next one. Maybe he will. And he's a good mentor. I'm sure he is too. But yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
I agree completely with you. I think that this stage might have been slightly too easy for Hater. In a sense, Hater, I see him being prominent in the stages where the groups have thinned out due to climbs. Because I don't trust his positioning in the larger pelotons. And then I look at, for example, stage 6 of this race, Molins de Rey, as the finish line. There's a climb of 2 kilometers at 8.8%, 10 kilometers from the finish line. So that's a stage where Ineos could really hammer that climb, make sure the likes of Caden Groves tries to drop. Well, Groves won't try, but Ineos will try to drop Groves. And if that works out, then the peloton might be thin enough that a Hater might be able to pull it off. But in these full peloton sprints, I just don't trust him to get in the right position by the time the sprint starts. And next to that, I don't trust him to have the sprint to even win against Groves in these flat sprints in the first place.
Okay, but Venturini's fifth, man.
Okay. Well, top 5 is what I'd expect
Yeah,
from
no,
Hater.
again, I'm not saying he has to win,
Yeah.
but they pace all day. You gotta, and maybe I haven't looked where he was with 1K to go. He got detached from the lead out, I think. And Hajduk, I don't think, is here. So yeah, I'm sure like there could be a reason why it didn't work out today, but it's kind of similar to a few things that happened last year. So, but then again, he got it really, in my opinion, he got it right, the positioning on stage 1, and that was a really hectic running with a sharp descent. So you might be right, Benji. Stage 6, the same thing happened in Romandy. He missed out on one of the earlier stages they paced, and then he won the next day. And stage 6, as you
Shushed
pointed
everyone.
out, pardon, and he
Didn't he
shushed
shush everyone?
everybody. Problem I'm seeing is the break might win that one. So
Yeah.
that's if he wants to win that from the group, that's going to be a hard old task from Ineos. But tomorrow's stage, the big one, 178 Ks. It is a hockey sticks Unipuerto stage, finishing on Tortosa, the Mirador del Portage on Lowport, which is 8.6 Ks at 8.8%. It is pretty steady, to be honest. It varies between the shallowest is 7.2, but most are about 8.5. And then there's a few Ks in the nines, but nothing over 10. And the last 8.5 for the last 2Ks. So it's a hard climb. Honestly, it really suits Remco. He's performed very, very well on stages like this the last 18 months with very high level performances, easier climbs than this. So it's from sea level to only 1,000 meters. It's steep. It's easy beforehand. It's cool conditions, not raining. We should see huge, huge watts per kilo numbers tomorrow. And I think Remco is going to win pretty handily.
Yep, I think he's going to destroy the peloton and everybody else on that climb. I think Roglic will likely be the last rider that drops off his wheel on this climb. But I think the gap will still be significant. I think it won't be a 200-meter from the finish line drop by Roglic. This climb is steep enough that the differences will be made earlier. And if Roglic is still on the same limit that he was one climbing stage ago, then I wouldn't be surprised if Remco drops him with 3K to go on that steep portion, for example. Because if he keeps pushing on the steep parts, if he launches, I don't know, roughly halfway the climb or on the last steep climb even, then the difference will be made there. And I'm also very curious to see what Almeida will do here because he was great on that first climbing stage, then it a bit worse on the second one because he said he didn't feel that great after the performance of the day before, which is understandable considering what he
That
had
doesn't
done on
make
that
sense.
climb. Doesn't make sense. Ah.
It doesn't make sense. What is it? What does he mean?
What do you mean?
Well, it doesn't feel good because he had a mechanical a day before.
He had to go harder than other people, though. Come on.
He started to go
Deeper.
full gas. Everyone's going full gas. Doesn't make any sense. They can't get me in the bus, but
Stop hating on Almeida. Come on, we're
I
going to lose
don't
all our
hate on
Portuguese
Almeida. I
viewers.
think he's really good. I think they got to pick him up a little bit and be like, "Come on, Zhao." That's the opposite.
But he's going to
You
drop
reckon
early
he's
on
top
this
three?
climb. Ooh.
He'll top
Ciccone is a
three.
difficult one to beat, though. I think it's going to be fourth behind Ciccone on this one. I will say, however, I expect him to drop early like on Burgos on Laguna
Oh, you think
Naya.
Roglic will top three?
Yeah. I think he's going to get second on this climb.
I think he follows Remco, and it could be a problem.
Blows
Like in
himself
Pico
up.
Hanna. Yeah.
Possible.
Because he's not going to realistically do what Almeida does. Like, he's going to try and follow Remco. He has to, otherwise you just lose GC. Almeida won't do that. So that's what I'm seeing. There's a risk to the top three.
Possible scenario, quite certainly. Now, when it comes to other climbers on this terrain, I hope to see a good Keon Uitebrooks again. Lenny Martinez, like to see him as well a bit. But overall, we're looking at one man to destroy the rest, and that's Evenepoel. And on paper, based on last performances, it shouldn't be a 2-second gap this time around. So he should be in a lead jersey after tomorrow's stage, right?
Adam Yates, getting the break, please.
Really?
Well, like, Almeida's going to do his thing. It's super steep. Why not? He's not going to beat Remco from the group, I don't think.
But the break on a flat stage, it's a flat stage. Wow, the start has like a 3% climb. If
I'm just
maybe
saying.
you can get away there.
Tarame, Yates, Tullett. You could have a pretty strong mountain break here with guys who have lost a fair bit of time. Guillaume Martin.
Possibly.
You don't get if you don't try.
I don't believe in it.
Me either, but
You
I
know
think
why?
you should try it.
Because Quickstep has an entire team except Evenepoel to pace here. Because if I'm them, I trust to go to the final climb with just Evenepoel.
Yeah, and basically Ilan does a 3-minute pull and then off he goes.
Off.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, should be, like, from a What's per Kilos aficionado's perspective, an interesting stage. Hopefully, at least. But that was Catalunya. GC all to play for tomorrow.